legal battle between the lead mill and its owners has come to a close. The iconic venue now has just 3 months to vacate the property, leaving its future up in the air. The University of Sheffield is set to implement saving strategies due to the ongoing budget cuts, with up to 1,000 staff members potentially facing redundancy, according to the UCU. A portion of the River Sheaf has been unearthed after being concealed over a century ago. We spoke to Councillor Ben Miskell about this regeneration milestone. Stay tuned for this and more on This Week in Sheffield. The long-running legal battle between the lead mill and the owners of the venue has come to a dramatic close, with a judge ruling that the lead mill has just 3 months now to vacate the premises. This means that the future of the venue and its likely impact on the Sheffield music scene remains very uncertain. For the past 3 years, the lead mill and the building owners, Electric Group, have been in a tense court dispute since the venue was served an eviction notice. Last week, however, a judge ruled in favour of the owners, who now plan on rebranding to SK35, as they don't own the legal trademark for the iconic brand name Lead Mill. The venue has been a staple of Sheffield's music scene, having been graced by the likes of Coldplay, Oasis and the Arctic Monkeys, while also welcoming university students for decades. I actually have a bit of a personal anecdote. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine from the US came to visit Sheffield, and the one thing she wanted to do was to see the lead mill and to take a photo with the iconic sign. So talk about cultural impact. But I, for one, am definitely going to miss the lead mill. And now in university news, nationally, a lot of universities are having to make budget and staff cuts as a result of the rising costs, and the University of Sheffield is no exception. As the number of international students is decreasing, saving strategies are being implemented to maintain the high standard of education at the university. Taja Booth has more.
At the University of Sheffield, international students make up a large part of the student population, with over 28,000 international students from over 150 different countries. This number has been dwindling in recent years, and that's causing budget cuts across the university, including the student union. A spokesperson from the university has said they'll be taking actions to manage this, such as reviewing infrastructure projects, reducing spending and managing staff vacancies. Taja Booth, This Week in Sheffield.
And there's actually been a UCU announcement on Monday. A strike ballot has opened, which will close at the end of March. As a result of the management goal of cutting more than £23 million from the staff budget, and they're saying that it will likely impact roughly 1,000 members of staff in the university. Now, with something more positive, a portion of the River Sheaf, concealed underground for more than a century, has been uncovered during development at Castlegate. The river was built over in 1917 as part of the construction of the now demolished Castle Market. Honestly, it seems like it's such a great time to be in Sheffield, and now I'm leaving in just a few months, and there's a whole glow up in the city centre, Heart of the City project, all of that, and I'm leaving. But you know, you guys that are staying here for the next 2 years, enjoy it, because Sheffield has had such a glow up recently. And now we come back to some university news. There are just 2 days left to apply for a role in the Students' Union for the next academic year. If you want to have an impact, there are 6 full-time roles, including President, Education, Sustainability and Development, Liberation and Activities, Wellbeing and Sport, and International and Welfare. Applications close this Friday at 5 p.m, so if you're thinking of running, you've not got long to submit your bid. We'll be covering the entire election process here on Forge TV, so remember to stay up to date on our YouTube and social media. And if you'd like to get involved in the election coverage, there is still time left to fill out the form. And now I'm joined by our SU President, Daisy Watson, who you might remember from the first episode way back in October. Hi Daisy, thanks for coming back on the show. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, and thank you for welcoming me back.
How are you?
I am so good. I'm so busy. I feel like I'm running around all over the place, but yeah. I'm very glad to be back. I miss This Week in Sheffield. I watch it every week.
We appreciate that. So you've been the president for 8 months?
Yeah. A while. It's crazy.
Yeah. So how's that been? What's been the most rewarding thing about it for you?
So much. Like, I think the most unique thing about being SU president is that there's no one thing you're focusing on at any given time. The most rewarding thing I think is that. I've run so many different projects, helped on so many campaigns, and predominantly looked towards the team that I work within and been able to help facilitate some of the most amazing things they've done. But also I think for me personally, I've done so much work with the city centre. I've started a partnership that didn't exist previously. It's helped with housing regulation, transport regulation. I think it was a really, really big step for the Students' Union. So coming into my 8th month in this role, I feel like I've actually achieved something, which is a really nice feeling. I think being a SAB can sometimes feel busy all the time with no reward. But yeah.
What would you say to some of the students who maybe they don't really know exactly what the SU president does? And you've mentioned a lot of these things. What's the kind of role description? What are the main things that you've been working on?
So it's slightly changed. I've kind of approached this role this year as a democracy and community role. It's moving forward next year as a democracy and community role. You're the leadership in the Students' Union, you're the predominant advocate for students' voices in university spaces. All of that advocacy element is the largest part of my role. I spend a vast majority of my time in university meetings. I always say a good president is someone who makes sure things don't happen as opposed to knowing that things do happen. A lot of the time I'm in rooms having conversations saying this absolutely can't happen, it will impact students. But on the side it's also making sure that students feel like they're residents in Sheffield, making sure they feel embraced by the communities they live in, they're living in a good situation, and also just making sure that the Students' Union is standing on its 2 feet. At the moment we're going through a bunch of financial issues. It's been a huge focus of mine over the past few months, making sure that predominantly student-facing services are fine during that process. So you definitely do a very varied element of things. It's the beauty of the role, but it's also extraordinarily busy, and you kind of have your fingers in a vast majority of pies, but it is wonderful.
Yeah. And what would you tell students who are thinking of running, what would you tell them that's the most kind of important thing about this role that they should know going into this?
Can I say 2?
Of course. Yeah.
I think the first thing would be, you have to love the Students' Union. It sounds strange, but I think people underestimate how much of a connection you gain to that place being a student officer. You spend a copious amount of hours, far too many hours in that building. And because as SU president, you're not only there representing students, you're also representing the organisation of workers at the Students' Union, what it provides, what it can give to students, including support. I think you have to really know the organisation and understand it fully. You can do that whilst in the role. I would absolutely say it shouldn't deter people from running if they don't feel they have that, but be ready to embrace that organisation. I think the second thing as well is it is a very varied role. Find your interests, find what works for you. There are some parts of my role that I find extremely challenging and sometimes they do feel a bit grueling. There are other parts of my role that I would do every day for the rest of my life, and it's okay for you to find your feet a little bit, and for this role to seem scary if you want to nominate yourself. It is a scary role. I remember nominating myself and being like, oh my God, this is huge. And it is huge, but I think you do get used to it, and it is as exciting as it seems.
Yeah. You mentioned having a connection with the SU. What does that mean for you personally?
I mean, I worked in the SU all the way up to me becoming president. I worked in the advice centre. I also worked in the representation organisation team. So I kind of had that innate connection anyway. But I think it's knowing the staff members, what makes them tick, what do they love about students. People who choose to work at students' unions are doing it because they genuinely care about the people entering the doors of our university, paying to be here. And I think it's also, knowing your student societies, your committees, working with things like Forge TV, working with the societies like international and cultural societies, knowing your community and knowing who you're representing is by far the most important thing. And I think you have to have a real drive to want to know people and want to understand people, even if they aren't angry with you or they disagree with you. It's such a huge part of being president because you are the single point of contact for a lot of people, for their anger, their sadness, their happiness when it comes to change making. So I think it's just an innate interest more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, it's been really great having a chat with you, catching up, and you know what? I'll see you actually on the results night.
Yes, you will.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which we will be hosting on Friday, 21st of March.
Yeah, it's coming up so quickly.
Do you know what time?
I believe it starts at about 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
There is a live stream.
Yeah, save it to your planners.
You have to come. But
it's going to be great.
Yeah, it is going to be great. And I would really recommend anyone who is thinking of running for any of the roles. We have new roles this year. Do it. Go through the campaign experience, talk to people. If you don't like it, you can move past it. You can drop out of the race. You probably will love it. You may as well try if you're thinking about it. I'd really urge you to. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me come on.
No worries at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, now this morning it was absolutely horrible outside. But, Thea, do you have any good news for us weather-wise?
Adam, I've finally got some good news for you in terms of the weather this week. The sun is coming out. Tomorrow is the last bit of cloud we're going to see for a few days because the weekend is completely clear, full sun. It's time to go to the Peak District, maybe a cheeky mam tour, morning sunrise walk, whatever floats your boat, because the sun is coming out and I cannot contain my excitement. We've got highs of 10 degrees coming up this week, which isn't the warmest, but it's still better than what we've had. Lows of about 2, so it's going to be cold during the night, but at least it'll be clear. And the start of next week, we're reaching 12 degrees, so it's getting even warmer, and lows of 7. So it's looking okay. Everything's going to be fine. Hang in there. Everything's getting better. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Thea. I am really looking forward to this. We've had horrible weather so far, so a good bit of sunshine is definitely much needed. And now we go to Arco Dutta with the top stories in sport.
Well, Adam, I wish the sport was as good as the weather. Both Sheffield sides suffered roadblocks in their championship campaign this week. Starting off with United, who faced Yorkshire rival Leeds at Bramall Lane on Monday, and were looking to close the gap between them. The Blades drew first blood 30 minutes into the game after Tyrese Campbell bundled the ball in from the goal line and dominated the game until the 72nd minute. A brilliant cross from Dan James, ending with a bullet header from Hunye Firpo, levelled the game. Late goals from Al Tanaka and Joel Pirro sealed a sensational comeback victory to move the Whites 5 points clear at the top of the table and send their travelling fans into raptures. Over at Turf Moor, Burnley secured a comfortable 4-0 win over Wednesday. Marcus Edwards opened the scoring just before half-time, with Josh Brownhill doubling the lead in the 61st minute. Conor Roberts made it 3 in the 70th, and Manuel Benton sealed the win in stoppage time. Wednesday had early chances but couldn't capitalise, while Burnley extended their defensive record with a 12th consecutive clean sheet. A clinical performance from the hosts as Wednesday struggled to match their finishing quality. However, all hope is not lost. Sheffield Hatters battled past Newcastle Eagles with a 94-90 win to secure a spot in the SLB Cup final. The Hatters led early, but the Eagles fought back, setting up a tense finish. Georgia Gale started with 27 points, while Nyla Jameson-Myers dominated inside with 23 points and key rebounds. A critical fourth quarter push, including clutch free throws, sealed the win. Despite Newcastle's late surge, Sheffield's composure proved decisive, and the Hatters turned their focus to the final, setting to claim the title. As always, to keep up to date with Sheffield sports, follow Forge Sport on Instagram and X.
Thanks, Arco. Now, that's all we've got for today. As always, thank you for joining us, and remember to stay tuned on our social media. Now, I am so excited that we're entering spring, so I will keep my fingers crossed for more sunshine and warm weather, and hopefully soon it'll be warm enough to return to CVP for a picnic, or, of course, Bull Hill if you live in Crooks. But anyway, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you here in the next episode. Bye for now.